Hi guys, it's Madison. This is my NGO video that I chose an NGO because truthfully I know what NGOs and IGOs are, but I don't know too many specific organizations, so I thought that this was a really interesting assignment to have. So the one that I am planning to tell you about today is a really awesome one. It's called Cure Violence. Cure Violence Global. They're in many states. So they span from the United States to Canada. They have operations in Puerto Rico, Trinidad and Tobago, across Latin America and the Caribbean, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. So they kind of like the documentary that we watched on sex trafficking, where they changed the terminology and they changed their way of thinking to make the girls who were stuck in this life to be the victims instead of like perpetrators of some crime. Cure Violence is they're trying to take the same approach in that they're looking at global violence as a health epidemic. So they're calling it an epidemic health problem that can be effectively prevented and treated using health methods to stop events and outbreaks and reduce spread. So, they quote statistics like up to 73% reduction in shootings and killings implemented in 20 plus cities. So that 73% that they're quoting is in areas where they're directly involved in the community. So again, those are like internal findings that they've had, but then they were also named 2019's number one NGO for preventing violence by the World NGO Advisor. They were also ranked number 9 in the world for NGOs by the same group. So they've got some notoriety, they've got some fame, and they have a 3-step process that they use that I want to share with you. So the first thing that they try to do in changing the idea behind these killings and stuff where they're happening, they started in Chicago. So they wanted to reduce the shooting rate, or the death by guns rate. And so they say that they have a 3-step plan. So number 1, they try to detect and interrupt the transmission of violence and anticipate where violence may occur and intervene before it even erupts. So they go into a community and they kind of set up like these big brother, little brother programs where they take more of a mentorship approach, and they actually try and remove them from like these idle hands opportunities. So they try to put them into community work and volunteer work, and they try to find projects and things for them to do that they're interested in, so that they can, one, be spurring on their future and like thinking about what they want to do, and 2, just keeping them from having too much time on their hands in areas where gang violence is a known disruptor. And then their second point, number 2, step 2 in the violence prevention system that they have set up, they try to change the behavior of the highest potential transmitters. So they identify to work those at highest risk for violence and work to change their behavior. So they have an algorithm that they've set up over statistical data and like their own experiences for who they think is going to be most susceptible to violence or to outbreaks or to needing to be intervened. And then they go in and they try and take the highest risk actors. So they try and start at the top and work their way down. So they're trying to have the most impact with while using their resources the best that they can. So, and then the third point that their third step in the process is to change community norms. So they try to influence the social norms to discourage the use of violence. So one of the stories that I read about them, they were hosting these mediations where they were literally telling people, if you have a conflict or you have a problem, like, we'll fix it for you, get us involved, let us help you. And so they were actually instances of them sitting down together and talking out their problems through these mediators who are clinically trained. A lot of them are psychologists and people who have dealt with drug addiction people who have drug addictions, because they think that violence is can be viewed as an addiction like that. Again, like the sex trafficking video, the documentary that we watched, they're trying to change the ideas behind it and see these as more opportunities and victims, if you will, of bad circumstances that can be changed, rather than like perpetrators who have no hope, who are just going around shooting people. So the cure violence method, so this 3-step process: detect and interrupt the transmission of violence, change the behavior at the highest possible transmitters, and then changing community norms. This is called the cure violence method, and it was developed using strategies and statistics that were developed from the World Health Organization, and it's actually won many, many awards. So their work is pretty renowned. They've been promoted, and they're actually endorsed by the Institute of Medicine, the World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank, among others. So those are organizations that promote them and try to help them go into these communities and make a name for themselves and really change the path that they say. They say a path appears when cure violence gets involved in a community, and it's really cool. There's a 2011 documentary about them called The Interrupters, and it's all about their health approach and how they're reframing it. And it's all about their success throughout the world. Like I said, they're all the way from the United States to Europe to Africa to the Middle East, Latin America. They've got some pretty good footholds. They try not to be too political, but of course, they do get involved politically, which is actually another thing I'll let you look up if you want. It's pretty interesting. But so they have a proven theory of change that they're really excited about, and like the documentary on sex trafficking, they're trying to morph their understanding of violence into something that is curable and something that needs resources, as opposed to something that needs to be punished. And I thought that this was a really awesome NGO that I had never heard about before. Again, they're all over the world, so if you're interested in looking them up, it's the Cure Violence NGO. Thanks for listening to me. I look forward to learning about your NGOs and IGOs, and good luck with the end of the course.